The pill bottle is empty and sitting on the edge of the sink, and I put it there because it has the right weight, the right suggestion. I didn't take anything from it. I haven't taken anything from it in 2 weeks, since the prescription ran out, and I didn't bother refilling it. But Diane doesn't know that. Robert doesn't know that. And the bathroom door is locked. And outside I can hear my mother crying in that high, breathless way she has, like she's rehearsing for something. I'm sitting on the tile floor. The grout is cold through my jeans. My phone is propped against the cabinet. Screen up, recording a small red dot blinking in the corner like a pulse. The text I sent Diane 11 minutes ago said, "I'm sorry. Everyone go and have a good time tonight. Maybe Ethan deserves a family that doesn't have to worry about me anymore." I watched the read receipt appear. I counted to 4. Then I heard her footsteps on the stairs, the specific rhythm of my mother in crisis mode. Heels first. Urgent without running. The gait of a woman who has spent 20 years managing scenes. Now Robert is knocking a steady, apologetic rap. Like a man paying a bill he's not sure he owes. I don't answer. I tilt my head back against the cabinet and listen to the shape of silence between knocks. Robert has never learned to fill silence. It's both his greatest weakness and, occasionally, his only grace. Downstairs, Ethan's phone has been ringing. I know his ringtone, I set it myself. Years ago, as a joke. Some tinny pop song we used to hate together. Driving back from somewhere. Singing it badly out of spite. He never changed it. That detail makes something uncomfortable move through my chest. And I press it flat. Downstairs, Robert picks up. I can't hear words. Just register placating. Then firmer. Then the sound of a man cracking at his own edges. He says, "Your sister." He says she needs us. He says, "I know it's your birthday, son." But the tinny pop song stops. I stand up. In the mirror, I look exactly as intended, mascara in 2 careful lines down my cheeks. Eyes red and swollen from water I'd splashed 10 minutes before sending the text. Precise work. I've had practice. I press damp fingers beneath my eyes and check the swelling, then adjust slightly. Then I reach into the mirror cabinet, push the empty bottle aside, and pull out the folded paper I've been carrying for 2 months. Notice of academic dismissal. My name at the top. The date. The formal language of consequence. I fold it back along its creases. I put it in my pocket. I unlock the door. Diane grabs my face in both hands. Robert stands behind her, looking at the floor. My mother's eyes search mine, and I give her what she's looking for. I let my lip tremble. I let my eyes fill again. The tears are real enough in their way. They just aren't for what she thinks they're for. Downstairs, Ethan's birthday cake sits in its box on the counter, candles still wrapped, cards still sealed. I don't look at it. Morning. And the house has the texture of a hangover. Ethan arrives at 9:15 for his jacket, which is not why he's here. I watch from the hallway as he comes through the door, and I can read what he's actually come for to see what's still standing. In the kitchen, I sit with a mug of tea I'm not drinking. When he comes in, I've assembled the expression carefully contrite, hollowed out, earnest with the particular earnestness that invites absolution. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ruin your birthday. I just didn't know how to keep going." He looks at me a moment. The way he looks at me has changed, not angry, exactly. More like a person recalibrating after the furniture's been moved. "Ava." Flat. "Were you dismissed from school?" Diane steps in immediately. Robert avoids eye contact. I set my mug down. "You were going through my things. You left the laptop open on the coffee table." I let my voice go quiet, not loud, which is defensible, but quiet, which makes the other person seem like they're attacking something wounded. "I can't believe you're doing this right now." Diane's hand lands on my shoulder. I lean into it, slightly. Ethan watches. Then he picks up his jacket. After he leaves, I go to my old room. On the wall, pageant photos, ribbons, the framed newspaper clipping "Little Miss Rose County," a family photo near the window. Ethan is in it technically at the far right edge of the frame, almost cut to a sliver. I open my laptop. I start composing a text to Megan. The screenshots I send Diane contain 3 of Ethan's texts, stripped of their context. In sequence, they read like threats. I send them with, "I know you love him, I know you need peace, but I'm scared." Mom. The word mom I use sparingly. It works best after an interval of formality. Diane calls within 5 minutes. That evening I post to Instagram. Sometimes the person who hurts you most is the one everyone thinks you should be grateful for. No names. 312 likes by midnight. Megan's response to my request is one sentence, Ava. I can't do that. I put the phone face down. Megan is a problem because she exists outside the ecosystem. My parents are navigable. Diane needs to feel she has saved me. Robert needs the conflict to stop. Ethan is harder. He needs the truth, which I cannot give without everything collapsing, but he's still subject to the family's grammar. Megan is not. She was my roommate for 6 weeks before I stopped going to class. She watched me sleep through every 8 a.m. lecture. She doesn't hate me, which is almost worse. When Ethan meets me for coffee, I bring my phone. I start the recording before I get out of the car. He says, "I don't want to fight you. I want you to stop." Stop what? Destroying people to save yourself. He says it without heat. I note where it lands. I file it away. Claire Bennett comes to the Sunday dinner with a folder. She sets it on the side table in the entry hall, and I feel the evening's geometry change. Diane has arranged the table beautifully, flowers, a roast, the good glasses, her specialty domesticating a confrontation until it looks like hospitality. Claire opens the folder without drama. 3 pages my class schedule. Every slot marked did not attend. A bank statement showing the tuition disbursement and withdrawals Diane has never seen. A handwritten note from Megan confirming I left the dormitory at the start of October. Robert says, "Ava." I look at the table, then I look up. Here is where pageant training matters most, not the catwalk, not the smile, but the interview portion. The question that surprises you. The answer delivered under lights. "Yes," I say. "I was dismissed. I should have told you. I was terrified of what you'd think of me." Diane exhales. She takes my hand. I knew I'd failed. I knew I'd let everyone down. And the night of Ethan's birthday, I fell apart. Technically true. Most lies have a true bone inside them. Ethan says, "You were recording at the cafe." Not a question. He'd seen the phone, the blinking light. "I was scared of you," I say. Claire. Quietly. "That's not what happened. You weren't there." He described it to me. He asked you one question. He asked it once. I open my mouth. What comes out is not what I planned. "If they look at him, I disappear." I hear it land. Claire's face changes. Ethan looks at me like I've handed him something sharp he wasn't expecting to receive. Diane moves to smooth it over, and Ethan's voice comes out flat. "Can you not explain what she just said?" He stands up, touches Claire's shoulder, walks out. The front door opens and closes. Through the window, I watch them standing on the porch in the cold, not talking. My phone buzzes. "Megan, I'm sorry. I had to tell the truth." I type back, "Do you think you could live with what happens next?" I send it before I think about it. And then I sit with what I've become, the kind of person who writes that sentence, and I put the phone in my pocket. The power goes out that night. My old room is lit only by my phone screen, rain against the window. I count the seconds between thunder and lightning. An old habit from childhood, a thing Ethan taught me. Actually, because he was the kind of older brother who read things and then came to find me in storms. I open the box at the bottom of the closet, the pageant crown plastic, pink. One tooth on the back comb broken off and taped with Scotch tape gone yellow. The sash. A photo of me at 8 years old. Crown on. Bouquet in both hands. Face arranged in an expression that is technically a smile, but also something watchful. The expression of a girl who has already learned that the camera must be satisfied. I remember the ballroom smell of hairspray and other girls' mothers. Diane crying backstage. But not sad crying, the crying she does when she's overwhelmed by something going exactly as planned. Robert lifting me up after my name was called. My feet leaving the floor, the whole room applauding in one warm wave. And Ethan, at 10 years old, standing at the edge of the backstage area holding my coat because someone had to. Nobody photographed him. He handed me the coat when it was over, and I didn't say thank you because I was 8 and I had just won and the entire world was applauding, and he was just my brother in the background. I pull at a memory I haven't looked at directly in a long time the year after that. He made me a birthday card by hand. Our 2 cartoon faces. Mine with a crown drawn in careful ballpoint. He'd pressed so hard the lines were grooved into the paper. Diane told him to put it away. I had a regional competition the following weekend and she needed me focused. He folded the card carefully, like it was something that mattered, and put it in his back pocket. I watched him do it. I said nothing. That night I won the regional title and the whole room took pictures, and I remember being happy, and underneath the happy, something else, something like power, something like the particular relief of knowing you have survived. He went into the dark so you could be in the light, and you let him. I put the crown on. It doesn't fit anymore, too small. The broken tooth catching in my hair, sitting crooked. In the phone screen's glow, I look ridiculous. Like a child playing dress-up in her own past, which is exactly what I am. I start crying. Not performed crying. I am alone. There is no audience. There is no benefit. It's just the kind of crying that happens when something in your chest finally finds the crack it's been looking for and goes through. I'm not crying for Ethan yet. That comes later. I cry for the girl in the photograph who was taught, before she had language for it, that love was a competition, and she had to place first to earn her share. Who was given a crown and told it meant she was worth loving. Who built her entire self on that lesson and now sits in a dark room at 26 wearing a broken piece of plastic on her head, trying to remember who she is when no one is applauding. He can exist without anyone watching. That is the thing I've hated him for. That is the thing he has that I was never given. I take the crown off. I set it on the windowsill. Outside. Rain runs down the glass and the thunder is close now. The gap between flash and sound, almost nothing. 2 weeks later, the crisis has become a climate. Diane schedules therapy appointments, drives me to them. Robert transfers money for my stability. Ethan has been gently, explicitly asked not to come to Sunday dinner. I post again. More heart emojis from distant aunts. One of Diane's friends tells her she doesn't know what's gotten into Ethan. On a Thursday evening when the house is empty, I open the birthday cake box. White frosting, blue lettering. Happy 28th, Ethan. I take a fork. I cut a piece from the back where the missing section won't show. The cake is too sweet, sugar layered on sugar. No depth. I eat half and feel sick. I put the fork in the sink and close the box and stand at the counter for a long time. The house is quiet in a way it wasn't before, the way a room is quiet after someone important has stopped speaking. The church fundraiser is Diane's production. She asks me to say a few words. I wear white. I keep my makeup light. I've rehearsed until it feels spontaneous. Megan is their coincidence. She knows someone from the choir. She pulls me into the hallway before I go on. What you're doing with the mental health language, she says, it makes it harder for people who actually need to be believed. You don't know what I actually need. I know what you told me at 2 a.m. in October. You said you'd never felt anything real in your whole life. You said you didn't know if the sad was real or if you were performing it. A pause. That was real. You're burying it under all this. I open my mouth. Claire is standing at the end of the hallway. In the fellowship hall, I begin the speech. 3 minutes in, I look to the back and see Ethan near the exit. Coat on. Not recording me. Not glaring. Just watching with the exhaustion of someone who has been holding their breath a long time. The speech starts to drift without my permission. I talk about my mother's hands on my shoulders before competitions, how they felt like love, and also like being aimed at something. I talk about learning to smile for judges before I learned to smile for myself. The room goes very quiet. After, in the car. Diane turns to me before starting the engine. You made us look terrible. Not are you okay? Not that was brave. I raised you to represent this family with dignity. I look at the parking lot. Families filing out. I think it was the truth. I say. She starts the car. Robert suggests a birthday redo. Diane shapes it into a dinner at home, small. Just family. Phrased as reconciliation. I know what it actually is. She gives me a script I've been struggling. I lashed out. I'm grateful for my brother's patience. I hold the paper. Then I put it in my coat pocket. That evening, I drive without a destination and end up at a diner 20 minutes out of town. Vinyl booths, laminated menus with photographs of every item. A neon sign in the window that says, "Open," but flickers on the N. I sit at the counter and order coffee I don't drink. Near the window, a family. Father, mother, a girl maybe 7. A mylar balloon tied to the back of her chair. On the table, 1 cupcake, 1 candle. Not even a full-size cake. The father is already singing before the candle is lit. Off-key and enthusiastic. Unconcerned with who can hear him. The mother laughs at his singing, a real laugh. The kind that requires no audience. The daughter covers her face with both hands. Then she drops her hands and blows the candle out on the first try, and she's laughing too. All 3 of them are laughing, and nobody is documenting it for anyone else to see. I watch this for longer than is polite. I think about every birthday of mine that was a production. The venues, the themes, the scheduled arrival of the photographer, the hours of preparation for 2 hours of visibility. I think about learning, very young, that birthdays were not about being a year older, but about demonstrating the kind of family we were, about being arranged pleasingly in the frame. I think about Ethan's 28th, sitting in a box on the counter. I think about cutting a piece from the back where the missing section wouldn't show, the fork in the sink, the too sweet frosting coating the back of my throat. I take out my phone. I open the audio file from the cafe, the one I'd been carrying like a weapon since March. His voice. Tired. I just want you to stop destroying people to save yourself. I've listened to it maybe 20 times in 2 months, each time framing it as evidence of his cruelty, his pressure, his aggression, his failure to understand my fragility. I had planned to splice it, to lift the sentence out of context, to play it for Diane as proof of how he speaks to me when no one's watching. In this diner, with the family near the window and the balloon drifting sideways in the draft from the AC vent, I hear it differently. Not an accusation, a description. A tired, accurate description, offered without malice, to the person it most needed to reach. I close the file. I take Diane's script from my coat pocket and smooth it flat on the counter. Then I take a pen. I always carry a pen. A habit from pageant prep. Always be ready to sign something, and I turn the paper over to its blank side and I start writing. Not a speech, not talking points. A list of 3 things that are true. Just 3. I write until the coffee goes cold and the family near the window finishes their cupcake and gathers their coats, and the little girl carries the mylar balloon out through the door. And then I put the pen away. I drive home. Diane is in the kitchen. She asks if I'm ready for tomorrow. I know my lines, I say. She smiles and goes to bed. I stand in the kitchen alone. In my coat pocket, folded against the original script, is a sealed envelope. Inside it, the dismissal letter, the bank statement, the unedited recording, and a note from Megan sent last week. I forgive you, but I won't lie for you again. I assembled it this morning, put it in my pocket, and have been aware of it against my ribs all day. I look at the cake box, still on the counter, pushed back against the fruit bowl. I don't open it. The table is set for 6. Linen napkins, the good glasses, a new birthday cake with proper candles in a row. Ethan arrives at 7 with Claire. He's wearing the jacket from the beginning of all this. I notice that detail. I don't know what to do with it. Diane opens with a speech about family and healing and moving forward. Then she looks at me. I stand up. I start the way Diane wrote it. I've been struggling. I need my family. I get through 2 sentences. Then I stop. I put the envelope on the table. I was dismissed from school in October, I say. Not suspended, dismissed. I had stopped attending in September. I used $40,000 of tuition money over 8 months. The documentation is in that envelope. I look at the table. The night of Ethan's birthday. I manufactured a crisis. Not entirely. I was unhappy. I am often unhappy. But I chose that night because I knew it would work. I have been doing versions of this for years. The recordings, the screenshots out of context, the posts. I have been ensuring that no one in this family could look at Ethan without looking at me first. Diane says, Ava, a warning. I'm almost done. Robert has his hand flat on the table, fingers spread. He says, Why? Not a question. The sound of someone trying to make arithmetic that won't resolve. Because I believed that if you loved him, there wouldn't be enough left for me. I look at my hands. I know that's not how love works, but it's the thing I was taught, and it became the thing I lived by. Diane turns to Ethan. I watch the pivot begin. You see what your pressure has done to her. No. My voice comes out flat. Not angry. Flat. Don't use him to rescue me. Not anymore. The table holds its breath. Ethan reaches over and lights the birthday candles, one by one, steadily. When he's done, he cuts a slice and pushes the plate to the center of the table. He stands up. I'm glad you told the truth, he says. But the truth doesn't undo what it undid. He and Claire leave. I hear his car. Then I hear it fade. Diane says nothing. Robert says nothing. The aunt and cousins at the far end of the table are collectively performing the act of not looking at anything. I pick up the envelope and put it back in my pocket. Then I take the pageant crown from my bag. I'd packed it this morning without knowing why, and I hold it in one hand, walk to the front door, walk out onto the porch. No one comes after me. 8 months later. The diner is called Maze. I open at 5:45. Portion the pie filling. Do the drawer. Remind Tomas to check the syrup before the breakfast rush. At 8, I close up and drive 20 minutes to a studio apartment that smells of old radiator and someone else's cooking from the unit below. Robert receives a wire transfer every month. A payment plan, written and signed. Some months it's tight. I make it anyway. On Tuesdays, I see Dr. Anand, who has an office above a dry cleaner and charges me on a sliding scale. She does not seem interested in whether I'm performing for her. This makes her either very good at her job or very boring, and I haven't decided. The old impulses don't disappear. I want to be precise about that. I stood at the counter last April while Thomas got a customer's compliment and felt the old arithmetic his credit. My loss. I felt it move through me. I let it pass. This does not always work. 3 weeks ago, I told May a half-truth about being late. Caught myself. Corrected it out loud, which was worse in some ways than the lie. The letter to Ethan takes 11 drafts. I keep cutting the parts that are there to make myself look better. The final version I took your birthday from you, and I'm not asking you to forgive that. I used pain as a weapon, and I'm not asking you to forget it. I hated you for being able to exist without needing anyone to watch. And I understand now that this was the most honest thing about me. I am working on it. Not for you, just working on it. I mail it with a regular stamp. No tracking, no read receipt. 1 month later, a text. Got your letter? I'm glad you're doing the work. I'm not ready to have you in my life yet. I read it in the parking lot of Maze, still in my uniform. I sit in the car and cry alone, quietly, without documenting it. Then I drive home. Wash my face. Go back for the dinner shift. A week before Christmas, a family comes in for a birthday. The daughter is maybe 6, and she drops her cupcake frosting down. One clean impact on the linoleum. She stares at it with the philosophical shock of a child encountering genuine loss. I get a cupcake from the case. I find a birthday candle in the supply drawer. I light it and carry both to the table. The mother says, "You didn't have to do that." "It's her day," I say, and go back behind the counter. At the end of shift, I lock the register and sit in my car in the parking lot. The pageant crown is in my apartment closet. in a box under my work shirts, folded and washed, not thrown away. I'm not performing catharsis for anyone, not even for myself. It's just a piece of plastic from my childhood, and I put it somewhere appropriate to put old things. That night, in the quiet of my small apartment, no applause, no camera, no one watching, I sit with what I've been trying to learn to sit with the fact that it is possible to exist in a moment that no one is witnessing, that the lights can be off and the room can be empty and I do not. In fact, disappear. The refrigerator hums, the radiator clicks. My own breathing moves in and out, steadily, requiring nothing from anyone. I am still here. I am working, slowly and without fanfare, on believing that is enough.